Let's be honest, the phrase "we're committed to engaging with the community" is right up there with thoughts and prayers on the list of phrases corporations trot out when they've really stepped in it. Conflicts between businesses and communities are all too common, especially when companies treat community engagement like an optional after-school program instead of a fundamental part of doing business. It's like trying to build a tree house without bothering to check if anyone actually a tree house, or crucially, if you're even allowed to build a tree house in that tree. But what if I told you there's a better way, a way to move beyond the performative hand-wringing and actually address these conflicts with something most corporations seem allergic to: dignity. Today we're diving deep into 4 key practices that can help businesses resolve conflicts by focusing on that radical notion of treating communities with, wait for it, dignity. Buckle up everyone, buckle up. Imagine, if you will, a company deciding to build a brand spanking new factory. Shiny, modern, the works. The only problem? It's smack dab in the middle of what used to be a peaceful park. Now the residents are understandably upset. They're worried about noise, pollution, the usual suspects when heavy industry moves in next door. But instead of to the community, the company decides the best course of action is to release a statement assuring everyone that the factory will be environmentally friendly and create valuable jobs. They even throw in a pledge to plant a few trees, because nothing says we care about the environment like a tokenistic tree planting scheme. This, my friends, is the corporate equivalent of putting a band-aid on a gaping wound. It's ignoring the very real concerns of the community under the guise of doing good. Acknowledgement means actually listening to the community's concerns without immediately jumping in with pre-rehearsed defenses. Businesses need to adopt that same approach. Stop with the corporate platitudes and start genuinely listening. Let's be clear, acknowledgement without agency is like a car with no engine. You can talk all you want about listening to the community, but if you're not actually giving them a say in the decision-making process, well, you're all talk and no trousers, as my grandmother used to say. Think of it like this. Imagine you're at a restaurant and the waiter brings you a plate of food, but instead of letting you choose what you want, they just stand there and describe each dish in excruciating detail. Sure, it's nice that they're acknowledging the existence of the food, but at the end of the day, you're still hungry and powerless to actually eat anything. That's what it feels like when companies pay lip service to community engagement without actually giving those communities any real agency. Giving communities agency means involving them in the decision-making process from the get-go. It's about recognizing that communities are not just stakeholders. They're experts in their own right. And when companies tap into that knowledge, well, that's when the magic really happens. Now, I know what you're thinking. John, you're thinking, because we're on a first-name basis now, this all sounds lovely and utopian. But isn't this just going to eat into our profits? And to that I say, first of all, how dare you? And second, no. This isn't some hippy-dippy kumbaya approach to business. It's about recognizing that building strong relationships with communities is not just good ethics, it's good business. Reciprocity is about moving beyond the transactional and embracing the transformative. It's about understanding that when businesses invest in communities, those communities in turn invest back in those businesses. Think about it. A company that actively supports local schools, invests in infrastructure, and provides good-paying jobs isn't just doing charity. They're creating a more prosperous and stable environment for their own operations. Reciprocity is about creating a virtuous cycle where businesses and communities thrive together. Now let's talk about clarity. And no, I'm not talking about that overpriced juice cleanse you've been meaning to try. I'm talking about the importance of clear, concise, and transparent communication throughout the entire engagement process. Imagine this. A company promises a community that they'll build a new park as part of their development project. Great. Sounds promising, right? But then years go by and the park is nowhere to be seen. The company keeps saying it's in the works, but there's no timeline, no concrete plan, just a whole lot of vague assurances. This, my friends, is a recipe for disaster. Clarity means setting clear expectations from the outset. It's about treating communities like adults who deserve to know what's going on, not mushrooms kept in the dark and fed. Well, you know the rest. So there you have it. Acknowledgement, agency, reciprocity, and clarity. 4 principles that might sound a bit businessy, but are actually rooted in a radical notion treating communities with dignity. By focusing on these practices, businesses can move beyond the tired playbook of empty gestures and actually build strong, sustainable relationships with the communities they operate in. Because at the end of the day, businesses need communities just as much as communities need businesses. That's the dignity dividend.